Hey guys, so again we're going to be looking at solving triangles, and this time we're going to look at solving triangles using the law of cosines. Now when we were proving triangles congruent, we knew that that meant all 6 corresponding measures had to be congruent, and that's where we came up with that abbreviation CPCTC, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. However, we saw that there were some shortcuts. For instance, if you had side, angle, side, or side, 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 or angle, side, angle, or angle, angle, side, or leg, leg, or hypotenuse, leg, those are shortcuts to prove the triangles were congruent. We didn't have to show 6 pairs. So we said that if we have some of those setups, we can use law of sines to solve those triangles. So angle, angle, side, angle. We can solve triangles. We also looked at briefly if we have side, side, angle, that's another way that we can solve triangles. However, if it is side, side, angle, that means that we could have 1, 2, or no triangles at all. Now, that still leaves us with side, 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 and side, angle, side. And if we look at these two triangles, side, angle, side, or side, 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 we can't form a triangle out of it. Okay, so law of sines is not going to help us to solve those triangles. So that's why they came up with the law of cosines. And briefly, before we went home, we had a couple of lessons on law of cosines. So we're just going to recap it here pretty quickly. We have these formulas. If we're given two sides and the included angle, that's side, angle, side, we can use any of these formulas to find that third side that we're missing. Once we have that third side, we can shift over to law of sines and do the rest of the triangle a whole lot more easily. Or if we're given 3 side lengths and no angles at all, we can find an angle using an adaptation of that formula above. Now that would be side, side, side. So we still want to draw the triangle, we still want to see what setup we have, and that'll help us determine what formula we need to use. Okay, now here's the catch though. If we are going to solve for an angle, we have all 3 sides and we need to find an angle first. We absolutely, positively, 100% need to solve for the largest angle first. If we solve for any other angle first, there's a really good chance that we can make mistakes. So we have to find the largest angle first. How do we know which one's the largest? Well, the largest angle has to be opposite the largest side. So whichever side's the longest, find the angle with the same letter name. Find that angle, then you have a pair of opposite measures, then you can shift over to law of sines for the rest of the triangle. So make sure you find the largest angle first. Only use law of cosines, whichever one of these formulas you use. Only use law of cosines once per triangle. Then shift over to law of sines for the rest of it. It's a much easier formula to use. Now let's take a look at an example where we have 2 sides and the included angle. Now in order to save time, I already drew the triangle here, and we can see that what we have is side, angle, side, angle, side. And that's pretty sloppy. That's a little bit better. Sorry guys, used to writing on that Promethean board and I'm trying to do this on the touchscreen at home. Anyhow, once we have it set up and we have a plan for how we're going to solve what we're going to do. So I'm going to set up my answer table. And just like before, okay, I have angles A, B, and C. Okay, and I have sides A, B, and C. And I'll list all the things that I'm given. So I'm given that angle A is 120 degrees. Okay, and I have side B is 9, and I have side C is 5. So what I want to find here is that third side. That will make the rest of this a whole lot easier once I have side A. Okay, because then I'll have a pair of opposite measures in angle A and side A, and I'll be able to solve using the law of sines the rest of the way. So in order to find A, I look back at those formulas. Oop, that's not it. There we go. I look back at those formulas. Okay, those are the ones that help me find the angle. I don't need to find an angle, I need to find a side. Okay, and that's these ones. So a squared is equal to b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of a. So I'm going to take that formula, a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc times the cosine of angle A. So I'll take everything that I have and I'll sub it into that formula. So that means that A squared is going to be equal to 9 squared plus 5 squared minus 2 times 9 times 5 times the cosine of 120 degrees. Okay, now I can sit here and I can work this out. Let's see, I can do 9 squared, that's 81. 5 squared is 25. Minus, let's see, 2 times 9 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10. Times 9 is going to be 90. Times the cosine of 120 degrees. Well, cosine of 120, I'm at a loss. I don't know that one off the top of my head. So I can go to the calculator, and I can turn it on, and I can type in this whole left side, or excuse me, the whole right side. So 81 plus 25 minus 90 times the cosine of 120 degrees. Now, keep in mind, that's degrees. The rest of the world, when they're talking about angles outside of geometry class, they use radian measure. So before we press equals, we want to double check, press mode, and make sure that we are in degree mode before we go on. Okay, press second quit to get us back to the main calculator screen. Press equals, and we get that a squared equals 151. Looks like a 7. Now, 151, that doesn't seem quite right. These sides are 9 and 5. That seems pretty elaborate. Keep in mind, this is a squared. So if I want to get a all by itself, I need to take the square root on each side. So I'll come back to that calculator, and I'll take the square root of 151. Okay, now, if your calculator puts that long bar over top of the square root, cool, you're all set. However, if it doesn't, what it's going to do is open up a set of parentheses automatically on its own. If it opens up a set of parentheses, you need to close it. If it doesn't open up a set of parentheses, you're fine to just press equals. But if it does open up a set of parentheses, make sure that you close them before you press equals. And we get that A is approximately 12.28. And since we're solving an entire triangle, we can just say that A is approximately 12.3. And once we have that answer, we can put it in our answer table, 12.3, and there we go. Now, once we have a pair of opposite measures, like we do right here in angle A and side A, we can shift over to the law of sines. Law of cosine is a very messy formula. I'd rather not do that any more times than I have to. So instead, once we have a pair of opposite measures, we shift over to the law of sines. So if I want to find angle B now, I'll say that side, still on my highlighter. There we go. I'll say B over the sine of angle B is equal to A over the sine of angle A. Okay, and I'll sub in everything that I have. So B is my 9. Okay, the angle that I'm looking for is the sine of angle B, so I can't sub anything in place of it. Okay, and that's going to be equal to A, which we found is 12.3 over the sine of angle A is 120 degrees. Okay, now in order to solve for this one, if we think back to proportions, we cross multiply. Okay, and that will give us 9 times the sine of 120 degrees is equal to 12.3 times the sine of angle B. Now I want to get that angle B all by itself, so I'm going to divide both sides by 12.3. Now over here, those 12.3's cancel, and I get the sine of B all by itself. Okay, and over here on the left side, well, I certainly don't know that off the top of my head, so we'll go back to the calculator. So 9 times the sine of 120 degrees, close those parentheses, divided by 12.3. And we get that the sine of angle B is approximately 0.634. Now, that doesn't look quite right. We have an angle with 0.634 we're going to put on our answer key? Not quite. Okay, here's the catch, guys. That is the sine of angle B. So if I want to actually find what the measure of angle B is, I have to take the inverse sine of that answer that we found. So I go to the calculator and see right above this sine button right here, okay, you see that it has negative signs of the -1. That's the inverse sine. So I press second and sine, and that gives me that symbol. Okay, and then I put on my answer. Now I don't want to type all that all over again, so I'll press second, answer, the negative button, close the parentheses, and equals. And I get that the measure of angle B is approximately 39.3 degrees. Now that sounds a whole lot more reasonable. Now, even more good news for us, guys. When we have to find that last angle measure, we know that the angle measures of a triangle have to sum to 180 degrees. So that means 120 degrees plus 39.3 degrees plus that unknown C has to be 180 degrees. Okay, so we add these two together and we get 159.3 degrees plus C equals 180 degrees. Okay, and then we subtract that 159.3 from both sides. And we get that the measure of angle C is approximately 20.7 degrees. Can we put that on our answer key? And there we go. So if we're given side, angle, side, we can use law of cosines to find that third side. And once we have that third side, then we'll have a pair of opposite measures. And once we have a pair of opposite measures, we don't have to do any more law of cosines. We can shift over to law of sines, which is a much simpler equation to solve. Then, once all we have to do is find that third angle measure, we can just add all three together, set it equal to 180, and solve for the one that we're missing. All right, guys, now here's those formulas again for you. Okay, right down here. If we have side, angle, side, we want to find that third side first. Okay, and here's the formulas for those. If we have side, 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 we want to find that first angle. We want to find the largest angle first, which will be opposite the largest side. Once we have a pair of opposite measures, we shift over to law of sines and we solve the rest of the triangle. Okay, guys, there's going to be assignment posted to teams. If you have any questions on that, please email me or get to me through the chat through Teams. And there's going to be a quiz on Friday, so make sure you get your questions answered before then. All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you then.